When Queenslanders threw out the state Liberal National Party government led by Campbell Newman after one term, it was one of the biggest routs in Australian electoral history. Since then, Campbell Newman has kept a low profile. But he has cooperated in the publication of an authorised biography called Can Do, which is due for release next week. The former Premier is scathing about the quality of political and media debate in this country, and he says it's going to be difficult for the new Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, to weather it any better than his predecessors. Campbell Newman joined me from Brisbane a short time ago. Campbell Newman, thank you very much for coming in.
Good evening, Lee. Thanks for having me.
With the benefit of a bit of distance now from events, what do you think went so wrong so quickly for you in Queensland?
I think it was the pace of reform. I think it was the necessity to make some really tough decisions. Sadly, and this is one of the things in the book, it is very difficult in Australia today with the way politics is played and the way things are covered to actually have what Malcolm Turnbull's been talking about, which is a conversation with the community. I'm afraid that's one of the things we're really talking about in the book. It does make reform hard, but we made some dud decisions, but they were dud politically, but they were actually in the best interests of Queenslanders, and that's what we're seeking to explain.
What do you think are the things in the political and the media environment that make tackling big reforms difficult?
It's really the way I think that there's a toxic atmosphere now in politics, great focus on personalities, and I acknowledge the pressures that are on particularly the commercial media, but it's manifested in what is known around the traps as clickbaiting, where people have to really put forward fast, sensational type stories to get the attention of people out there in the community.
But, obviously I would say this probably because I'm in the media, but that's not the only problem. It's also the way that politics is conducted.
Oh, for sure, and politics is being played in a very hardball, personal way. I hope that some of the things we're saying in the book will get a bit of a debate going about the way we want to conduct debate. I mean, I hope people will perhaps reflect on perhaps kindler and gentler times where we did focus on policy and we actually went after people's policy ideas, not their personalities. But that's exactly where we've been. I mean, I've been shocked, for example. Let me just show you how I feel about it, really. I mean, the way that Julia Gillard was treated by Alan Jones was totally unacceptable. How dare somebody refer to the Prime Minister of the country in those ways, in that way that he did on a number of occasions.
In terms of personalities, though, the reality is in politics, you're going back as long as you like, personalities are important because you're the front people out there who are trying to persuade the public of the merits of your policies. So isn't it wishful thinking to say, well, we shouldn't have such focus on personalities? The personalities are actually key.
I think we need to know about our leaders, that's for sure. But I think it's where it gets into this territory of the quite sustained attack on those personalities. I think Tony Abbott, Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, all got a bad run. People can read the book and see what they think about myself, but there's plenty of other examples out there as well.
In your case, though, to be blunt, what about the personal failures that you brought to bear on the situation?
Well, you'd have to put some to me.
Well, the fact that basically the Queensland electorate simply stopped listening to you, that it reached a point where they didn't like you to such a degree that they gave your government one of the biggest whacks in history. Yeah,
when I was elected as Premier, I was a very popular political figure. And what I used to say to the local press pack was, when I was trying to explain things, why would we put forward some of these decisions if they were not in the best interests of Queenslanders? So I guess I'm saying if it was about a popularity contest, then we're very much in bad territory. Malcolm Turnbull the other day said when he launched his bid for the leadership, he said that politics should be about having a conversation, explaining things, not about slogans. Well, hooray, I agree 100%. But the problem he will face soon enough, and it's already there, I can see it already, is that people don't want to hear his explanations in the media. They're already having a go at him for being too long-winded.
What do you think of the federal government's decision to replace Tony Abbott with Malcolm Turnbull?
Well, very, very sad because I have a lot of time for Tony Abbott And again, he's a person who's been, subject to all sorts of character attacks. He is a fundamentally decent man, a man of integrity. But what we seem to value today is more what's said about people than what they're actually trying to do. So I'll make that comment. So I was sad to see him go. Clearly, though, the decision that the Liberal National Party the Liberal National Party ended up making was one that has been rewarded in the polls. And I hope Malcolm Turnbull succeeds. He's a fine man as well. I'm just worried where it goes in the long term. He's been pulled down once before, and sadly I see the signs already that I was reflecting before. But I guess, again, is it right that we have had that many prime ministers in such a short period of time? Are these people so fundamentally bad at the job? I think not. Why are they so different? Are they different sort of people than the quality of people we had in the 60s and the 70s? I don't think so. The environment's changed and it needs to change for the better.
But you can have people of wonderful integrity. The reality is, can they win an election?
Well, again, I'm not just going to talk about Tony Abbott. I'll talk about Campbell Newman, Ted Baillieu, even Barry O'Farrell, Julie Gillard, Kevin Rudd and Tony Abbott. The shelf life of political leaders seems to be diminishing. And again, I've got to say, I would venture to suggest it's the triangulation between the attitudes in the community, the use of social media, and the way politics is being reported. One thing I'll just venture as well, I didn't mention before, is it's clear to me that politics is particularly being treated by the commercial TV stations as some sort of reality TV show. They've got cooking shows, they've got Big Brother houses, they've got renovation shows, and there's a very similar theme that runs through their political reporting. And I mean, probably Twitter's going nuts now denouncing me, but that's what's going on.
Campbell Newman, much to think about there. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks so much, Lee. It's been a privilege.